So, you could have done a couple of exercises in the last class and all, right? On the cloud side. Today, I'm going to talk on something which you may not like. Okay. You may feel that, oh, why is this coming under security? You may also feel that, why should we learn this? You may also say that, okay, boss, this is not my job. I'm a security guy. I don't need to worry about all this. Is what you will say. That is DevSecOps is what we are going to talk. I'm going to introduce you to DevSecOps and how typically things work in DevSecOps. So how many of you have heard and came up with these terms or came across this concept?
The DevSecOps, you mean to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, we generally hear about it before any product that has to come into production that has to go through a standard security uh, checks and all, right?
True, true, true. So it has to go through a couple of standard checks and all. So have you heard this? Like nowadays, if you're an infrastructure guy, okay, who is coming from infrastructure automation background or infrastructure management background, you need to have the skill of DevOps. That is mandatory. There is no other go for you. Rijal, can you make me presenter?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just 1 minute.
So even like we talk, no, offensive security, defensive security. You could have seen again. There may be some modules where you have not yet seen offensive things. For many of you, sorry, but there are some offensive activities that typically we do in an industry, and there are some defensive activities that we do in the industry. So defensive is what we will talk, or mainly from a defensive point only. All our discussion is going to happen. So let me quickly bring up some slides so it will be easy. Give me a minute. What you see here, okay, sorry, I did not share the screen yet. This is the most asked skill in today's world. If you are doing cloud security, hey, do you know how to do DevSecOps? Do you know how to do DevSecOps? The reason is no one wants to spend time after building the application. They don't want to spend time after building the application to identify the bugs. Rather, they want to spend time the moment a developer writes a piece of code. The moment a developer writes a piece of code, I want the job to be I want the job of security scanning to be done. So a developer writes 100 lines of code, immediately security check will happen. But obviously, Nishant, I cannot hire so much of human people, right? A developer may write every 15 minutes a code. Every one day before he leaves, he may write 100 lines of code. I may not have such capability. Yeah, it's not human who is going to do the job, but a machine who is going to do the job. Okay. You guys are with me? So a typical DevOps cycle talks about planning, coding, building the application, testing the application, releasing the application, deploying, operating, and monitor. Now, you may be a developer who is coming from a development background. You may be a system administrator who is coming from administration background, or you may be a security engineer whose background is doing security. Ultimately, what you need to do is at each phase of this, at each phase of the SDLC, you need to put security. Like at the time of planning, you need to do some security activities. At the time of coding, you need to do security activities. At the time of building, you need to do security activities. At the time of testing, you need to build the security activity. Release, deploy, operate, and monitor. At each level, you need to have a security in place. So let's ask one question. How many of you are from a software development background? Okay, Sudhakar. So then you have to unmute. Huh? Let's have a discussion. Yeah, Sri Krishna also. Good. We have two application engineers. Yeah, anyone, volunteer. Who is going
Yeah,
to
sure,
volunteer?
Nishant.
Okay, excellent. So what programming language do you work on, sir?
I work with C.
Sorry?
C programming.
Okay, C. Now, when you write your C program or your application, do you have this sprint or do you have a project plan of when you are going to start what and when you are going to end?
Yes.
Who is going to work on what? Work breakdown structure is there?
Yes.
Typical project management terminology, huh? Then you have a sprint cycle.
Yes.
Okay, was this week I'm going to work on 1, 2, 3, 4, and my team is going to work on 1, 2, 3, 4. At the end of this week, we are going to release this version. Or we are
Yes.
at the end of this month or at the end of
Stories.
this week. Yeah, the stories will be there. User stories are there, and this user stories you will fulfill. So the planning is good. Then you will start the coding. How many engineers you have in your team?
We have 3 engineers.
Okay, so each of them take equal work or like one is a team lead and then each of them
Equal
does
work.
their own
Pretty much equal.
equal work. And all of you know each other, like, in case you are not there, the other two persons can immediately pick up and do the job, or they
To
need to
certain extent. Yeah, to certain
to
extent they
certain
can do.
extent.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what are the technologies you use for development, like IDEs for C?
Well, we use Vim
For
and
development.
for development, and for SCM we use Perforce for
You're from HCL, huh? HP. You're
yeah,
working in HP, huh?
it's Cisco.
Okay. One of my friend who used to work in HP, HP
Okay.
printers. Okay,
Yes.
they write only C, and then I asked which SCM they are using. He said the same thing. Then I thought you're also working in the same product. Okay, they
And
also
this,
develop everything on C, C++.
yeah,
All the
I mean,
drivers.
part of it,
That's it.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Now, so once you write your code, do you compile the code?
Right.
After compiling. Now, what is the difference between a compilation and a non-compiled code?
Interpreted code, sometimes we use some scripts like Python or maybe
Okay,
some shell
so
scripts.
there are two different type of programming languages, guys. One is interpreted programming languages. The other one is a compile time programming languages. Correct? C, C++, Java, Ruby, they are compile time. That means you write a code in the plain text. You write the code in a plain text, give it to the compiler. Compiler will convert into the binary, and this binary is what you will execute, correct?
Yes.
And there is another type of programming language, interpreted. You write the code and execute it immediately, like Python. Compilation is not required. PHP, compilation is not required. JavaScript, compilation is not required. Pure Node.js, pure Node.js, compilation is not required. But Node.js with Angular, compilation is required. Node.js with React, compilation is required. Node.js with Vue, compilation is required. So depends upon the programming language, your coding style and coding parameters will change. Once you code, either you will build or you will skip the build step, will depend upon the type of programming language and the framework that you are using. Any questions still here? Your build means compiling it, okay, or packing it. Any questions?
No, so far.
Okay. Then after that, you will start testing, Sri Krishna, your application.
Yes, we'll do
No,
some unit testing.
Okay, you will do unit testing. What type of different testings that you guys do as a part of your entire life cycle?
Unit testing, feature testing, integration testing, system integration testing, and yeah, pretty much these are the major testings that we come across.
Excellent. And then you release the software once every testing is done.
Right. Yes.
So now who will release? You are a developer or an operations engineer?
Operations engineer, not. Yeah,
You are
not
an
us.
operations guy. Okay.
No, I'm not.
So
Yeah,
mhm.
I'm not an
Achha.
operations guy. Yeah, the
Okay,
operations.
so when you do the release, right, who will pack the package? You will pack the package and name it as version 1, or someone else will do the job?
Someone else.
Okay, someone else will take the code from your source code repository and then he will pack it and call it as release 1, release 2, release 3. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
And then who will deploy it? The same operations engineer will deploy it?
No, there will be someone else.
Oh, there is someone else.
Yes.
And then operate. So who will upgrade? Who will downgrade? Version
That's
of the
another thing.
application? Same
Mm,
person who did the packaging deployment?
Deployment, yeah, deployment
The
person.
person who did the same deployment, he will do the operation. And then monitoring team, application monitoring team is there who monitors knock. Now, there are so many people involved at each stage, right? Ideally, what DevOps is expecting you is that one person, that poor fellow, should know everything. That is DevOps. A person should know development and a person should know operations. He should be in a position to take up any activity when required, is the expectation of DevOps. So a DevOps engineer expectation is like he should have superpowers, but he will be paid a normal salary. That is the expectations. Clear? Today's industry expecting is that. This is what they expect. Any questions?
So that person is supposed to have even security knowledge as well, is it?
At this moment, industry has not yet grown. They are growing. The growth is like you are expected to know now. Before they were not asking. Last 1 year, we have seen people telling that, oh, you should know DevOps means DevSecOps also. So look at these guys. What kind of technologies they ask. Again, this is a senior software engineer for DevOps role. In this case, they are asking static code analyzer, security scan, sonar cube, or check marks. Anything is fine. Then Tomcat or Glassfish web server experience, cloud, DevOps, and CI/CD experience, preferably Microsoft Cloud and Google Cloud Platform, CloudWatch. See, I'll tell you, I don't know, sometimes job descriptions are very funny. They are asking Microsoft Azure. Okay, but CloudWatch is a AWS product. How can you have Microsoft Azure deployment with CloudWatch? CloudWatch cannot monitor third-party systems. If anyone of you are coming from AWS background, do you know that CloudWatch cannot monitor any other system apart from its own environment?
This is
See,
usually
like this it
written by a
happens.
TA person. Because generally TAs are very creative.
Yeah. So, but see, Stack Driver, Splunk, Prometheus. Now, at the time of interview, if you say, no, I don't have experience in CloudWatch, they see this keyword and they reject you. Ah, okay, you don't have this experience. Then what do you have to say to clear that first round? Yeah, I have experience. Event PubSub, Azure App Environment, Anthos, AKS, GKE. They were very clear. And then cloud networking in VPC. You know, in AKS or GKE, there is no concept of VPC. VPC is a concept which is used in AWS. It's VNet. Yeah. Let's look at another profile. See here, GitHub, Spinnaker, Jenkins, Maven, Jira, Ansible, infrastructure as a code, Terraform, CloudFormation, ARM templates, Bash, Python, Go, Docker, Kubernetes, microservices, database, API implementation, infrastructure monitoring tools. There's so many different skills that are expected from one person in the world of DevOps. That too, DevSecOps, more skills, more things. Let's look at a job description for a DevSecOps guy. What are their expectations? Oh, this is not Dabba company, I think. I did not write anything. Let's take a good company. Okay. These guys expect you to implement CI/CD in with the DevSecOps. Learn how virtual machines, containers, Kubernetes, cloud environments, bare metal servers, architect testable and maintainable infrastructure as a code. Different skills that are required. AWS is preferred for them. DevOps automation with Puppet, Ansible, and GitHub. Bash, Perl, Python, JSON, YAML, XML configuration, Kubernetes, Terraform, Helm, Docker. Again, this is also written by someone. Azure DevOps, then Agile, Jira, Git, SV, and Fire. Now, different skills are expected from these DevSecOps engineers. I hope you guys are understanding, right? Different technology skills that are expected. Let's take Muthoot Finance. This advertisement we'll see a lot. Have CI/CD, Kubernetes knowledge, infrastructure as a code, Helm, Docker files, Ansible, Bash, YAML, Jira, Confluence, Jenkins, Bitbucket, Nexus, Anchor, NuGet. These are all tools in the world of DevSecOps or DevOps. Now, we actually removed the DevOps term also. Today, we call the fancy term called as SRE, Site Reliability Engineering is the concept. Under the site reliability engineering concept in the infrastructure, these are the tools that are present. These are the list of tools that a DevOps engineer or a site reliability engineer or a DevSecOps engineer should have an idea. In each section, you should have one tool idea minimum. That's the expectations. There are some tools which span across categories, and there are some tools which are in one category. For example, Helm, application definition and image build. But there are other tools which span, for example, Chef can do CI/CD also. Certain time, Chef can actually act as a container management, container orchestration to certain extent. Azure DevOps can act in multiple CI/CD. It can act as a definition build. It can act as a continuous integrity delivery. It can also help you to integrate it with service mesh. It can also help you to build infrastructure as a code. A lot of aspects are there. Like this, there are so many tools that people in the world of DevOps or DevSecOps has to learn. Nishant, why we should learn? First thing, not everyone will get into VAPT. Let's agree that. Do you all will go after this course? Do you all go into VAPT job? No, you will never go. Not every one of your job role will be a VAPT. Not every one of your job role will be a SOC engineer. Not every one of your job role may get Office 365. Not every one of you will be, doing technical activity. Rather, you may be going for a GRC. Correct. Opportunities may vary. Agree with me? And we want, being a security engineering course, I want you to look at different aspects. Not only that regular firewall, regular IDS, regular log analysis. Okay. So you guys are with me now? Any questions? Excellent. Now, typically that one person should know everything. Okay. Okay, let's assume that one person will start learning all of this. Now, what are activities in DevOps? If you understand what are the activities in DevOps, then you will also understand what is the activity that you have to do in DevSecOps. So let's understand. Under DevOps, there are 6 practices that people will take. First practice is continuous integration, continuous delivery, microservices, infrastructure as a code, monitoring and logging, communication and collaboration. So let's ask continuous integration. So let's ask one question. Okay, this time we have another developer, no? Who is he? Sudhagar? Yeah, sir, you need to unmute. We can talk. I cannot hear you. Okay. Sorry, we cannot hear you. Can you guys hear Sudhagar?
No.
Am I audible now?
Nah, you're audible now. Excellent.
Yeah.
Maybe hardware turn off, huh? Mute.
Might be. I
Yeah,
connected
okay.
to my earphones. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So typically you write a piece of code in which language?
Bean shell. It's based off Java.
Okay, Bean shell. And where do you store your code?
Actually, we do have our own repositories, like in
Yeah,
the
correct. In which type of source code management system? Like
Visual
GitHub,
Studio.
Git. No. Visual. That is in Visual Studio. Visual Studio, you cannot store code. There will be a place called as GitHub, GitLab, SVN, Bitbucket, such kind of tools. Okay, but when you write a piece of code, will you actually check in that source into the source code management system, like versions? Do you maintain versions?
Actually, there is another team which they are maintaining the code repositories, so they will be maintaining the code versions. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So let's ask, maybe then you'll not be the right person for this question. Let me ask Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna, the moment you write the code, do you check into Perforce?
Yeah, we'll do some UT basic and then we'll check it into the
Perforce. Now, what is a Perforce? Perforce is a source code management system where you can go ahead and store all your code like GitHub. And you can share it with other developers in your organization, correct?
Yes.
Now, continuous integration means the moment a developer writes a code, and he pushes the code to the code base for storing. The moment he push, an automated system should take this code, run all the test cases that Sri Krishna needs. Run all the test cases that Sri Krishna needs. Unit testing, integration testing, smoke testing, load testing, whatever kinds of testing that Sri Krishna needs, this tool has to do the job. Or the tool should be capable of doing the job You tell to tool how to do it. That is fully automated. That means Sri Krishna will not manually sit and do it. Whatever the test cases are, right, that is fully coded and automated. So he writes the code, he pushes the code, and it runs that 10 times and checks. So he modifies one line, he pushes the code, and that again the entire code base is re-verified. But human is not doing, but some other system is doing the job. This is called as continuous integration. And then immediately you will get the feedback. You will not wait for a normal developer, normal tester to do it, take his own sweet time, and then 3 days after he comes back and tells there is a bug. No. If the test runs for 1 hour, after 1 hour you will immediately get a notification. If the test takes 6 hours, immediately after 6 hours you will get a notification as a developer telling that this is the issues. This is called as continuous integration. Any questions here? No questions?
No.
No.
The next activity is called as continuous delivery. So I want you to observe this diagram for next 2-3 minutes, and then we will talk. So earlier, the mindset was different for people. The mindset has changed now. Let's understand what is that mindset change. Earlier, what used to happen is you do coding, excellent. You do the build and you do the test. Now, after testing, what you used to do, Sri Krishna, you have a server. On that server, they will deploy the application, correct?
Yes.
Now, when the second version is ready, they will delete the version 1 and they will update the version 2. Correct?
Yes.
And then maybe when the version 3 is released, they delete the version 2 on the server and they upload the version 3 onto the same server. They will not recreate the server. Correct?
Correct.
That was the old style. That was old style deployments, because earlier you don't have the control of creating dynamic infrastructure. The world of creating dynamic infrastructure was not there before. But today, people use something called as a dynamic infrastructure provisioning. That means they will run a script. Automatically, it will talk to the VMware and the VMware will provision a server for them immediately. And they will run another script called Ansible. It will do the configuration of the server. And then they will run the deployment script. Application is deployed for version 1. And when you want to deploy version 2, they will not redo the everything on version 1 server. No, they don't redo it. Rather, what they do, version 1, there is a configuration script. If this is the VMware, server 1 will get created. Then The moment you release version 2, the same configuration script will spin server number 2 and version 2 of the application gets deployed. Then version 3, same configuration script will create another server for version 3. And if you want, after testing, you can deprovision this infrastructure. So this gives you a clarity that every time I freshly deploy my application and the environment, it is exactly redeployable. Redeployable infrastructure is what we need.
So Nishant, does it internally assume that continuous delivery requires virtual infrastructure?
Yes. Now, the thing is, this will not work in every application like mainframes. Mainframes cannot support this environment because mainframes doesn't even have virtualization technology in it. Wherever you see virtualization technology, which can be adopted, there are many areas in your organization where you will deploy applications in the form of VMs. There are many areas where you will deploy your application in the form of a container. There it will work. But if it is looking at a bare metal machine, this may not work for every organization. That's why latest technologies, latest developments, whoever are doing, latest startups, they're all implementing this kind of technology. The legacy applications still, who are running on bare metal hardware based testing, like Honeywell. I worked for Honeywell. I can vouch that half of their systems cannot work in this way. The reason is they are a hardware based company. AMD, they cannot run every infrastructure testing like that. Maybe Cisco, they cannot run everything like this. They have certain limitations because they build firmwares, they build hardware. For hardware building and all, it may not work out. But for software building, it will work out. Like Flipkart, they don't care about hardware, no? It's all software based. Zomato, it's all software based. Swiggy, software based. Clear? Dynamic infrastructure provisioning. And then deployment of the application and monitoring. So if you take, once the coding is manual, then automatic building, automatic testing is called as continuous integration. Then delivery means automatically provision the infrastructure, and keep it, like create the server and keep it, but a human will come and deploy it. Human will come and deploy means human intervention is required. A human intervention is required. That means he will come and click on a button to deploy and the deployment will happen. And again, monitoring is automated. That means the moment application is deployed, monitoring engine will take over and it will start monitoring the application. It's a continuous delivery and continuous deployment means build will happen, test will happen automatically, automated provisioning will happen, infrastructure provisioning, then automated deployments, and that too in production, and then automated monitoring is continuous deployment. And organizations currently are at this stage and they want to move from this stage to this stage. That means the way they think, the way they operate, their procedures, the amount of infrastructure automation, everything has to change. Now, what is the benefit of this? You are avoiding a lot of human errors across the process because only once you will write the code. After that, the code is reusable n number of times at each stage. Clear? Trust me, you will listen these all words when you are searching for a job. That too, if they're asking you if you are coming from a development background or infrastructure automation background, you will hear all these terms. Oh, do you know this? Do you know that? Do you know this? In cloud. Any cloud provider you take, they will definitely ask you this question. And this area is a untapped market, you can say, for you to explore the job. You remember I was telling you about one person, Rahul Dev, who placed in JP Morgan, I think. Yeah. He was a DevSecOps engineer. Anyway, just learn this and keep it handy, the skill. I'm sure it will help you some or other point of time in the career.
Sure.
Never assume that. See, and one more thing I'll tell you. This I have not written as a part of this one. What do you call that? Every time I give you, what is this called? I have forgot literally. 1 second. That lesson plan. I'm deviating from the lesson plan, but trust me, this deviation will help you. I thought it may not be important for you guys. Then I realized that, okay, why don't we add this? And anyway, as per the lesson plan, I have already completed the curriculum last week only, Sentinel lined up. But I thought, I'll introduce you to these concepts because these concepts are actually picking up a lot in the industry. And if we are not updated or if we don't know what is what, then we will not know, oh, what can I make a career out of it? What areas I can actually tap in new areas.
Thanks, Nisha.
Okay.
This is very important. Entire AppSec is based onto this now these days.
Yeah, application security area is entirely driven by DevSecOps. All those who used to call, oh, I'm an application pen tester are switching to this area. Obviously, it's also security. Security is broad now. This is one area in security. And trust me, you will realize this when you go to the industry and then when you see that security teams talking about DevSecOps. Yeah, it's a continuous delivery.
So does it mean that the penetration testing is completely automated?
Yeah, it is getting automated fully. That manual way of doing things are going to decrease. Today, let us see how much time you take for a average pen testing in a company. Minimum 1 month. Minimum 1 month you will do. On a continuous basis, you are doing pen testing for the same application, but still on every release, you will take a month time. Your team will take a month's time. But here what will happen is you decrease the number of bugs. When you decrease the number of bugs, the guy, he cannot give you small bug issues. He has to try for a big bug. So the quality of the code will increase. The quality of the application will increase automatically. Because whatever a human is doing, system is doing the job. Why do I need a human? I need a human to do a tougher pen testing. Break the application, not do small pen testing and say, hey, that the directory is visible, HTTPS options are enabled, oh, SSL certificate has an issue. Yeah, that we also know. Our automated tool has already given the output. Yeah, that's where we are addressing it. The next topic in DevOps is monolithic architecture to microservices architecture. Earlier, people used to develop monolithic applications. Monolithic applications means there used to be big applications. And when there is a change in the application, you need to redeploy the entire application. It's a big problem. Every time you do a small change, you cannot deploy the small change because every time you do deployment, it will take 6 hours, 4 hours time. I cannot afford to take 4 hours time of an engineer every time. So what people said is, boss, why should we have a very big application written in only one programming language? Why can't we have microservices? Why can't we have microservices written in different programming languages? They are talking to each other. Maybe one microservice is written in Java, another microservice is written in .NET, another microservice is written in Go language, another microservice is written in PHP, another microservice is written in Ruby, and let them talk to each other. If I need a performance for certain module, let me write it in Go. Maybe I need integration, let me write it in Java. Maybe I need performance based parallelization. I will write it in Node.js. For whichever module, whatever is required in that programming language I write, and all of them will communicate using REST APIs, which is a standard way of communicating across the systems. And each module will have its independent development cycle, independent build cycle, independent test cycle, independent release cycle, and independent monitoring cycle. So each of them will be independently developed, released. So that tomorrow, if you say, oh, this feature is not working out, let's deprecate. Okay, no problem. Deprecate. You need not to touch the other modules. You need not to touch other modules. Only this deprecation, this cycle is getting deprecated. That's it. Your deployment will not stop. Your code base is stable. And tomorrow you want to introduce a new module, introduce it. You're not touching the base code. You're just adding an additional module. Only one or two, one or two places or one or two repositories you will modify out of 6 repositories. This is microservices model. And for developing microservices model, if you keep dev team separate and operations team separate, it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out. What you need to do is you need to create something called as pizza teams. For example, when you order pizza, which pizza do you like? Let's ask some questions. Or all are healthy food eaters, huh? No junk food eater? Guys, you guys are there or not sleeping, huh?
No,
No, no.
No, yeah.
Then next time when I come, I'll sponsor Red Bull for everyone. Full energy.
I was looking at the Pizza Hut menu. Nishant.
Oh, you are hungry already.
Not exactly. I was just wondering what I can say in pizza.
Oh, you never ate pizza? Pawan?
I'm not a pizza guy.
Yeah, some pizza you tell.
I'm just lying, Nishant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I eat pizza, but I don't remember anything as such to say it upfront. Say, okay, this is what I'm looking like. I won't have to be in front in a spotlight that this is not there in pizza menu.
Yeah, he doesn't have a favorite. He just goes and eats whatever he can.
Eat whatever comes. Based on his hunger level, the cheese level also will change.
Yeah.
Extra cheese or not. Cheese burst, no? In India, we call cheese burst. Outside the country, only India we have cheese burst. Outside India, there's no concept of cheese burst. Double cheese we call.
Okay.
No. So we are calling us pizza teams. Now, what happens in a pizza team is, for example, if you order chicken pizza, in one slice you will get chicken, one slice you will get red sauce, one slice you will get bell peppers, one slice you will not get olives, no? Every component is there on every slice, right? Every component is there in every slice, no? It's not that, okay, one slice will have chicken and one slice will have only olives, one slice will have bell peppers, one slice will only have a red sauce. It's not like that. See, when I'm talking all this, no, I'm also feeling hungry now. Mouth watering. Anyway, for the today's lunch, we'll order this menu now. Okay, so this is what pizza teams means, where each team will have a dev guy and an operations guy. And this team is responsible for this module. Now they develop the module, they test the module, they release the module, they do the integration with other systems, and it is their responsibility, their baby. Like that, you create pizza teams. So each team will have. Now this is only dev and ops, but you need to add the security folk also into this. So this security folk will help this team to secure this module and talk to other team members, other teams to ensure that the integration security is also taken care of. Clear on the microservices part? Integration, delivery, microservices. Then infrastructure as a code. Previously, we used to take 10 minutes time to develop the virtual machine. Let's ask this question. During our labs, did you guys create VMs?
Yes.
Have you created manually VMs? Have you created manually VMs? When I say manual, click, click, click buttons.
Yes.
And I have also given you one automation script. You upload it and it has created 3 VMs. You remember
Right.
that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So which was easy? That uploading the code and let it do the job, or click, 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 click.
The script.
Code.
Click, click, click will give you knowledge, but it will not make you efficient. For the first timer, click, 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 knowledge will help. Then, but if you have to repeat the same task 100 times in a day, will it make you efficient? No. But changing the name and uploading, that will make your life easy, That's what we call infrastructure as a code. Whatever you need infrastructure in the virtualization world, whatever you want, the infrastructure, you convert that into a code. You convert that into a piece of code. And you upload this piece of code, let it build the load balancer, let it build the networking, let it build the application, let it build the subnets, let it configure the subnets, let it configure DNS, let it configure routing, let it provision the application for me. Everything is done by infrastructure as a code. Is another area. Then monitoring and logging. On a continuous basis, you need to monitor your systems. Observability. There is a new concept called as observability, telemetry. I don't know what fancy names are coming. You know what they are doing? Ultimately, name is observability, but what they are doing is monitoring. See, the industry changes, no? New terms will come, but still they do the old method only. That legacy word is monitoring, but people call it as observability. The new term is observability. Collecting the logs and visualizing the logs. Nowadays it is called as telemetry. Okay, you will listen this word. New words coming up. So you have monitoring and logging, where you will get operational visibility of your infrastructure, your application, your security, and collect different metrics to assess whether your application is up to the mark or not. Okay. Then communication and collaboration. If you are bringing up your development team, QA team, operations team together, and they work as one team, and they communicate with each other for each and every activity, is a typical DevOps. And then you bring your security engineer into that team, and he also collaborates on end-to-end basis. Then it is DevSecOps. And you, coming from the security background, you're supposed to learn DevSecOps. But you cannot learn DevSecOps just like that without understanding DevOps. That's why I spent some time in understanding what is DevOps. What activities you do as DevOps. Then okay, these activities I need to secure. Okay. So now, in the entire DevOps cycle, you need to put security. At planning, you need to put security. At coding, you need to put security. At building, you need to put security. At testing, you need to put security. Release, deployment, operation, and monitoring. At each stage, you need to put security. Clear? Now, before I get into the security part of each stage, what we'll do, let's take a very quick pause. Let's take a very quick break, and then we'll do. Yeah, sir.
How
Yes,
effective
sir.
is this? How effective are these implementations in real time? Any of these DevSecOps or
They are
DevOps?
very
Because
effective. They are very effective. Today, Checkmarx Sonar Cube is the top tools. 5 years before, no one used to care about these tools. The user base, understand, the developer base has increased for Checkmarx and SonarQube signature writers. In the last 5 years, if you see, There is a lot of increase in this. How do you know, Nishant? Just go to SonarCube GitHub page. You will see in the last 3 years how much development is done. See, how do you identify whether the potential of application is increasing is not is the developer base. If there are more developer base, that means it is craze. For example, have you seen that Android development? People never used to care 10 years before. But in the last 6 years or 8 years, if you have seen, the developer base has increased. What do you mean by developer base? If the developer base is increasing, that means it's gaining popularity. That means it's adopted in the industry. That's how you need to look at it. And now you go to check marks, you go to SonarCube and look at the developer base. Drastic increase in the developer base. Drastic increase in the amount of operational features that are being added. That tells us that this tool has picked up and industry needs this. For example, if you look at Microsoft app, where is the developer base? Do you see the same developer base? That's why when Facebook releases, when Google releases, when Amazon releases something, you know what do? They release developers. They release for developers. That means developers should consume the Facebook application and integrate them into their systems. Correct. For example, WhatsApp, what did they do? They released the developer guidelines so that a developer can use WhatsApp APIs to integrate into their systems. That's how when you go to Make My Trip, you will have an option. Would you like to receive alerts on WhatsApp? That is, they have exposed the developer APIs and developer will consume it. And the same thing is happening now. So you look at tools and their developer base, then you will get to know, okay, this tool is picking up, this tool is not picking up. And that's how we know that it is effective. And it's also saving a lot of time for many people. Because if you are able to automate some test cases, and if it is saving every day 1 hour of your time, that means on a 20-day cycle, 20 hours per month, and for 100 developers, it's like more than 2000 hours time. So that's how people are looking at it. And it's effective. In a legacy based applications like where C++ kind of code is there, where you're interacting with machines, this may not work out. This end-to-end cycle may not work out, but some of these phases will work. Like at the time of planning, doing security. At the time of coding, taking care of security will work out. At the time of building, security can be taken care. At the time of testing, security can be taken care. At the time of releasing, security can be taken care. But deployment, operation, and monitor cannot be automated because you are deploying it on a hardware or a firmware.
I have a question here, Nishant, actually. So why I'm asking, where is this question coming from is, let us say, for example, the build part, okay? We have automated the build part, let us say. But there are going to be some zero-day attacks, which we may have to incorporate in our build. That means there has to be a developer who continuously takes care of integrating zero-day attack solutions into the build.
Good. You brought a very good point, sir. Let's understand. Okay. Now, today, if you have looked at the vulnerability assessment report, let's take one vulnerability assessment report. Okay. Say in January, you got a vulnerability assessment report. And in February, you got another vulnerability assessment report. Now tell me how many of the vulnerabilities overlap across the reports? And how many are unique?
Very few, whatever came in February will be unique. Rest of them should be the overlap.
Rest of them. For example, my experience tells that 70% of them overlaps. 30% are unique. Correct? That means if I go to the next month cycle, March, I would easily see 60 to 70% repeating, 30 to 40% unique. That means where is my human spending more time? On 60 to 70% or 30%? Now what I will do with DevSecOps is that I will automate this gathering of 60 to 70%. Then let the 30 to 40% still happen manually, but I'm still saving some time now. Because still 60 to 70% is an overlapping vulnerability. That means I can reproduce the vulnerability with an automation script. But 30 to 40% I may not create.
This is fine, Nishant. 30 to 40% is fine. But what are the efforts involved in integrating whatever the new 30 to 40% Discord might attacks, right? Let us say, how much are
that
the
is anyway
efforts
there, no? See, that is
in
anyway there. See, I'll tell you.
actually focusing on the vulnerability? We will be taking time on integrating the solution into the build.
But integrating is a one-time job, no?
Correct. But there are
Vulnerability
going to
assessment
be
is a every
issues
month
during.
job. That is there. See, when you bring any technology, that integration gap will come.
So
That
one
will
person
be
taking
there.
care of all of them isn't it a myth?
No, see, one person will not take care, but that person is expected to know everything. See, you're getting it right. It is not that one person will take over the entire, your entire Cisco's job. No, there will be like 300, 400 DevSecOps engineers who will be doing the job. But everyone should know everything is the analogy here. Because you are in a position to replace someone else immediately. That entire DevOps culture is this. Now, this DevOps culture, no, look at site reliability engineering culture. You are expected to know development. You are expected to know testing. You are expected to know how to push. You are expected to know how to do customer handling. You are expected to know how to resolve P1 issue and patch it immediately on the customer's environment. That is site reliability engineering. Now, I'll tell you, my friend works in Oracle as a site reliability engineer. But he only works in networking domain. He doesn't work for application support. He works only as a networking domain because Oracle is a cloud. Their cloud infrastructure, networking itself is so big that they have 300 to 400 engineers only working on networking. Now, in this case, he's a site reliability engineer, but he knows end-to-end networking of that platform. But that luxury for a 400 people company, I may not have, because in a 400 people company, I'm expected to know 4 technologies. But when I go for Oracle, I'm expected to know only networking as a SRE. You're getting me, right? The same thing happens, right? If when you're in a small company, you're expected to know multiple things because you will be handling multiple things. But when you go for a big company, only a small piece of cake will come to you.
Agreed.
But still you are cross compatible. That means you are in a position to switch your roles as required.
And when it comes to the security part, DevSecOps, the security part, these tools which are available, will they help in taking care of the security aspects at each point? I mean, each phase?
There are certain tools which can help you, but there are some tools which are still improving. There are some innovative tools that are coming up.
Okay, so it's about knowing those tools usage and how to integrate them in.
Correct. That's why I brought up this point, no? This one. There are so many tools. Now, which tool will work in your environment, we don't know. Now that feasibility analysis you have to do as a developer or an architect. As an architect of an application, you look at these tools, see what works in your environment, what fits in your environment cycle, and then take it. For example, I am using Helm. That doesn't mean you have to use Helm. I am using Azure DevOps. That doesn't mean you have to use Azure DevOps. I am using etcd database for state storage. Doesn't mean you have to use etcd. Go for a MongoDB. Go for Cassandra. Go for Core DNSDB. Maybe for service discovery, I'm using Service Mesh. But you may have to use Envoy. Someone has to use Netflix OSS. So based on your requirement, your technology stack, what is feasible for you, whether open source is feasible, corporate versions are feasible, you take as an architect, you need to take this decision. Whoever is the concerned person in the organization.
Okay, Nishant, clear. Thank you.
So maybe I'll also show you some demo. Should not be a problem. So that you get that first-hand feeling of yes, this is how it happens. Okay, so what we do, we'll take a very quick break for 15 minutes and then come back. Okay,
and then we'll continue. So till now, I introduce you to DevOps. After the break, I'll introduce you to DevSecOps. That means whatever I have introduced you is the fundamentals. I did not get into DevSecOps yet. I'll introduce that after the break. OK. I'll see you in 15 minutes. OK. Welcome back, everyone. Great. Everyone is here, so let's go ahead. And for me, you can see my screen.
Yep.
Excellent. So this is the cycle. So what part of this will become a DevSecOps? Let's understand. So this is your modern DevOps cycle. You have planning, coding, building, testing, releasing, deploying, and operating, which includes upgrading, downgrading, monitoring. There are requirements phase, correct? As a part of requirement phase, what do? You collect functional requirements and non-functional requirements from the customer or internal business holder, whoever it is, correct? Then at the time of coding, you will convert that into code, store the code in the form of branches, involve third-party components, install third-party libraries, integrate it with multiple other applications. Then in a regular build, you will have something called as continuous integration server, which will compile regular DevOps, which will compile, which will do basic test. It will do basic linting analysis. It will package and then sign the build. Then integration testing. You will do integration performance and typical security testing is added here. Security is added at CI, security is added at testing. And then once the package is ready, you will release it. So you will test on a staging environment. You will pack the release and you will have a release schedule. And then you will have a deployment where you will do configuration of the server, maintain the inventory of the service list, and then build the infrastructure. And then start monitoring the application where you will capture the metrics like CPU resources, RAM resources, disk usage, network, application utilization, application performance, swap space usage, bandwidth usage, consumption of the traffic, loss, and then any anomalies you will alert. This is a regular SDLC with DevOps. Now we will add DevSecOps into the picture. Have you heard about threat modeling? Is it a security concept, threat modeling?
Yes, sir. Yes.
But how threat modeling is related to security? Huh? Let's ask this question. Why threat modeling is related to security?
So there are some standards such as UL 2900, which is also part of application security risk assessment, right?
Oh, security means
order
application
to-
is also there. We all know security
Yes,
means
exactly.
infrastructure only, right? For most of us, application security means infrastructure only. Servers, firewalls. But yes, at an application development also you have security and you have, as Sharanya said, you have standards which can take care. Okay, then this is your modern secure SDLC will look like, which is DevSecOps. At the time of planning, planning and designing, you will do something called as threat modeling. You will do something called as threat modeling. This is a manual activity. Threat modeling is a manual activity. Okay. And ASVS, Application Security Verification Standard. So you will look at this framework
application security verification standard, and then you will design your application. You will design your application based on this standard. Based on this standard. I am sending you the link for the standard. Yeah, this is the standard, ASVS standard, which talks about at the time of designing. We are not talking about at the time of building. We are talking about at the time of designing the application itself. You will take design considerations. You will take design considerations, authentication, architectural requirements, session management, access control, input output, cryptography, error logging, data protection and privacy architectural requirements, communication, malicious software, business logic, API, then password, general authentication, credential storage, credential recovery, lookup secret, session management, session binding, session logout, timeout. All these are done at a part of planning. We all know OWASP, no? Specialized for application security testing. The OWASP also gives you this application security verification standard. Clear? Any questions here? Now this has to be followed even at the design level and planning level only. You should take it. Verify that the code analysis tool is in use that can detect potentially malicious code such as timeout, time functions, unsafe file operations, and network connections. Rather than doing pen testing after the application is built, you are putting security controls at the time of design. This is one area that DevSecOps will address. Any questions on this? I'll be a little slow here. I want every one of you to understand each and every component theoretically, because not everything we will do practicals. That is at the plan. Then let's come to the code. Now, for example, today, how do you know the two systems integrate with each other? Today, when you have two systems or applications, they talk using REST API. That's a very, very common method. And the data gets exchanged in the form of a JSON object. The data gets exchanged in the form of a JSON object. Now tell me, how do application 1 trust application 2 and application 2 trust application 1?
API keys.
Sorry, API keys.
Perfect.
Yeah. API keys. Now this code also should have an API keys. This code also should have an API keys. Now how will you maintain that API keys? Are you going to store it in source code management system? If yes, how secure are they? That's called a secret management. It's called a secret management. Secret management is a big domain in security. Okay, and then yeah.
Sorry. So these keys can also be stored in vaults, right?
Excellent. You can store it in Key Vault. You can store it in HashiCorp Vault. You can store it in HSM. Yeah. Then, for example, as a part of your application development, you may use 10 different libraries from the internet, right? Do you use libraries to develop your applications? Yeah, we use libraries to develop our applications.
For example, you want a green color functionality in your front end. So you will download the green color library from the internet. You want a drop down function in your application. You will download a library from the internet. So now there are so many dependencies for your application. How are you confident that your application is not buggy due to because of this dependency that you have downloaded from internet? You downloaded a software from internet. How confident are you that it is not buggy? What happens today? It is not buggy. Tomorrow it is turned out to be buggy. Today it's not vulnerable. Day after tomorrow it is turned out to be vulnerable. How do you ensure?
Periodic scanning.
Periodic scanning. That means what is the periodicity of the scanning? Every 1 month, every 1 week, or every time a developer pushes the code?
Has to be every time developer pushes the code.
Yes. So every time a developer pushes the code, that's what we are taking. Every time a developer pushes the code, that code will be verified. That code will be verified. So that we don't wait for 2 months, 3 months, or till the release cycle. Before even the release cycle happens, it is taken care. Yeah, good. Then third component is CI. For example, you are using a lot of libraries and this is your code. But when you give it to a compiler may add its own dependencies. Compiler may add more libraries based on requirement. Now at the time of build CI, you need to do little more aggressive testing where you call it as dependency scanning. All the dependencies of your application are scanned before even your testing happens. So tell me, after testing, if I do security scanning is better, or before testing, if I do security scan is better?
We should do both times.
Both have to be done.
Okay, both have to be done. So which is more effective, before or after?
SAST is more effective.
See, if you test your functionality and then you realize that it's a security bug, will you pass the code to the production? No. So then why should I do testing when I will not even push it to production? So do the test, do the security testing before, because if the security is passed, then only functionality, if it is there or not, matters. If the security itself is not mapped. So you say, OK, Nishant, functionality is more important for me. Security is the next. OK, no problem. If you say that, that's OK. But many companies don't say that. They want security testing to be done first. So if security is passed, then only functionality here and there we can push it. So I don't want to waste 4 hours in testing my functionality and then my security fails and then I don't want to reject that build. OK. So what you do is you do something called as code analysis. That is static source code analysis. Static application security testing is what we do. Then you run security unit test cases. If you are building your application in the form of a Docker container, then you will do Docker security testing. In case if your code has secrets and if you have embedded these secrets in your code itself or in the form of environmental variables, then you will do get secret scanning. Then you have third-party libraries. Then you will do component scanning. These are the scannings that you do even at the CI level. Automated scanning. Then when it comes to integration, based on the type of application, you may use tools. Do you know burp suite? Do you all know burp suite? What is burp suite used for?
TST.
Proxy for web application. We can modify the web requests and even make changes in that.
Yeah, burp suit is a proxy. When you are doing a application penetration testing, you capture the request in the burp suit, modify it, and then tamper it. Correct? Now, similarly, you have Zap, who can actually, Zap is also a proxy. OWASP Zap is a proxy, which can actually do the baseline scanning of your APIs. If you have built an API and you want to do your API testing, the Zaps can help you with API scanning. Yeah. Then if you are building your application in the form of a container, then container scanning. Then if you have your application having third-party libraries, then you will use mod security CRS. What is this mod security CRS? This is a security scanning for your Docker container. This is a security scanner for your Docker containers. Based on what you use, how you define it, these things will change. It all depends upon the application stack. If the application stack is using React-based security testing you will do. If the application is using PHP, you will use PHP based. If the application is developed in Java, then Java based. If the application is using C#, C# based testings. Then once the testing is done, you will have the build file, you will have that compiled file. That compiled file is put it in a storage called as artifact. The name of the compiled file is called as artifact, and it is stored in an artifacted repository. Like third-party Docker images. Docker Hub is one of the registry to store all your libraries. SSL scanning at the time of releasing the application. Directory Buster I can use. Nikto I can use to scan. WP scan I can use. If you are using Joomla, I can use Joomla scan. I can integrate Zap with Selenium with Python integration at the time of release. I can do component scanning here. Now, we are expecting, except planning and coding, everything should be automated. That is the goal. But how we will reach our goal or not is the thing that we need to judge. But at this moment, our expectations is that these things are going to be automated. And then at the time of deploying the application, is the server that is provisioned meeting the hardening guidelines? How did you verify it? Is it automatically configured? The moment automatic provisioning of the system happens, is it automatically provisioning the security hardening also? Is the application hardening done? Are we meeting the Docker benchmarks if you are using containers? Then if you are monitoring, are we implementing something called as compliance as code? Do you have a security operations center who can actually collect the logs, do the visualization for you? Can you go ahead and verify whether the controls that I thought they are there is already there or not? That means, are you doing the auditing of your infrastructure on a continuous basis? Is what we talk in DevSecOps. What I have shown you is like 20 to 30% of the things that we do as a part of DevSecOps. There are more things that we can do, and there are more tools to do it, and the more integration that can be done. Now that is possible. Any questions on this? Guys, if you don't understand, tell me don't understand. No, Nishant, we understand. We understand. You have to give me yes or no. Okay. And then, Nishant, how do I assess my maturity? Is my organization matured enough to handle this kind of advanced technologies? Is my organization matured enough to implement this kind of technology or tools? Can I go ahead and do that? At an organization level, you have CMMI levels, no? Like that, you have DevSecOps maturity model. You have a DevSecOps maturity model. This model will help you and your organization to assess, oh, my organization is not up to the mark to implement this kind of new technologies. Oh, implementing these technologies may not add value to me. It's a very big framework that you need to apply on your organization to tell at what level maturity you have. See, at maturity level 4, you can only do build activity. Maybe at maturity level 3, at maturity level 3, you can build. At maturity level 2, you can do build, deployment, and you can go ahead and bring in educational and organization culture. But at maturity level 1, you can almost do everything. So different maturity levels will tell you different. But is this a go-to framework for everyone? No. This is a framework that is developed called as DevSecOps maturity model, which actually tells you what technologies you need to implement, what technical skill set you need, what works out, what will not work out. So your DevSecOps maturity model talks in these 4 areas. Dynamic depth means how deep my scan should be, how deep the scan should go. Static depth, how deep my static source code analysis should be performed. What is meant by depth? How can you have depth in code? Okay, let's understand. How do you say I have a deep knowledge? Okay. Now, my father works on a computer and I work on a computer. Do you think he and me have the same knowledge? In an organization, a clerk also uses computer, an IT engineer also uses computer. That means, are they doing same job? Are they having the same depth of knowledge?
No.
But they are using computer, no? In front of clerk also, a receptionist also, there's a computer. In front of a software developer also, there is a computer. Someone who don't know what is computer, he will only say both are for doing same computer job only. Correct? No. Who understands the depth? A developer understands the depth. Do you think developer also sitting, IT girls also sitting? Are they having same type of pressure? Are they having same type of knowledge? No. It all depends upon the depth. Here, you want to scan your code or you want to scan third-party library code, and third-party library code is what you go. How depth you want to go to scan and okay, boss, this will work out, this will not work out. This is my organization's requirement, this is not my organization's requirement. Now, for you to come up with that, this model will help you. How intense your scanning is. What kind of attacks that you are looking at. What is the intensity of the attacks that you want to be tested in your organization? Is another area. How good you can reconcile end-to-end findings and then put them into the continuous integration is another area. If you are able to address these 4 areas, that means you can test your organization's maturity, how mature your organization is. Like you all know, right? CMMI level 3, CMMI level 4, CMMI level 5. Every employee want to work in a CMMI level 5 company only, right? But how do you know what is the criteria for level 5? No one knows. Everyone want to work for level 5 company, but no one knows the criteria for level 5. On what basis they have given level 5, do you know?
There is going to be evolution in the processes as well.
Yeah, that's it. Now, this is what we need to look at. Typically in level 1, if your organization is able to if your organization is able to implement static depth and dynamic depth in your day-to-day life, that means if this has become a part of your day-to-day life, then you are reaching the level 1. That too, running a static source code analysis. Sorry, static application security testing. If you are doing a static application security testing, component analysis and secret scanning as it is, and running a dash tools with its default settings. If you have reached this stage, then you have achieved level 1. As it is, that means you take the default tools and run the default tools. You don't fine tune the tools. Are you getting me? You take the tool, run it. You don't care whether it is giving good result or bad result, but you're still doing it. That is level 1 achievement. If you have increased your maturity levels, that means you take same static source code analysis tools, component analysis, secret scanning, but with a minor tweaks to your rule sets. That means when you are doing a scanning, there are rules, no, against which it will check. Now you are fine tuning your own rules. You're tweaking your own rules. And if you're doing minor tweak to your tools and then implementing in your organization, you have achieved level 2. A real SecOps would look like this. Doing a build, doing Git secret scanning, performing static application security testing, and then in the test phase, doing DAST, Docker security scanning, IAST, NICTO, Nmap, and then releasing the software, and then checking the hardening guidelines, and then inspecting the infrastructure before the deployment is what we look at in DevSecOps. So here are the differences for you. I'll give you 5 minutes time to quickly go through this slide, digest this slide. Very, very important. You're getting it right?
Yes.
No. So what are the tools that are available? We need to write, right? So when we know the tools, then it is easy for us to implement it. No. Based on the type of programming language that you have, the tools will change. Yeah. If you are using JavaScript in your application, the tool is different to scan. If you are using Python, different tool to scan. If you're using Ruby, different tool to scan. If you want to pay, you can pay for check marks and it will do everything for you. It can do all programming languages for you. SonarQube will do 6 programming languages. So like this, open source developers have written open source code. Like safety is safety is a tool which has Python vulnerability database. Okay, and whenever you are choosing a tool, there is a criteria for choosing a tool. For example, do you do vulnerability assessment in your organization? What is the criteria for choosing that tool? On what criteria did you choose that tool? There is Nessus, there is Qualys Guard, there is a Rapid 7. On what basis did you choose the tool? Is it a skill that you need to have it in security? Is choosing a tool is a skill for cybersecurity engineers or no? Cybersecurity engineers means just using the tool or choosing the tool also matters. Choosing the tool also matters. You cannot call yourself as a security engineer by choosing a wrong tool. Yeah, if you don't understand the purpose, if you don't understand what you need, if you don't understand how to deal with it, you cannot call yourself as security engineer by just looking at the firewall. OK, this also is a part of security. You need to understand. See, these are some things that everyone ignores. That's why in regular security, you talk about just using the firewall, using the IDS, using the IPS, using the log system. But in security engineering, you will come out of that zone. You will come out of the zone of using. You will come into the zone of integrating. You should know how to integrate systems. You should know how to manage systems. You should know how to bring end-to-end integration into the organization. That is engineering. Engineering is different from usage. Huh? That's why in many organizations, there is an engineering team who develops tools, who integrates tools across the organization. Across organization, their engineering teams will be there. So these engineering teams are responsible to rightly identify the tool and also understand the purpose across the organization. Across the organization, you have to understand the purpose, and based on that purpose, what fits, you have to judge and then implement in a couple of teams, see how it is working. If it is working, implement across the organization. Yeah. So Sri Krishna, yours is a very big company, no? Cisco. Who decides which security tool to use?
So we kind of at our level, we won't know who is deciding it, but the tool actually is available for us for the usage. For example, for any of the SaaS activities, we have our Coverty tool which runs. So it's already available, and depending upon the team, we use a tool.
That means who decided that Coverty should be used in our organization?
At the
Someone.
architecture level, security architect will be
the security architect. Now, who is that security architect? Do we know on what basis he decided this tool we do?
Depending upon the language that we use for our project and the performance requirement.
But Coverty can do 6 programming languages. Why did he choose only this? Why he did not choose SonarQube?
The deployment
there is check
scenarios
marks.
and the project and
Yeah, for that check marks is also he can do the equal job. Why he choose only Coverty? There is some reason for him. There will be some reason, right? That he could have chosen this.
right, existing infrastructure has been already integrated with Coverty, so even the new project might. I mean, there could be some reason. Yeah, I am not sure.
Yeah, there could be some reason. What is the reason? We don't know. But there is some reason for which he has implemented it. Or they could have chosen it. Yeah. So how about other people in your organization? Who chooses the security tools? You choose or someone else? I need answer, sir. You cannot sit like that. Devinder, yeah, good.
Yeah, basically, like the user who is actually going to be utilizing the tool, the function head like us. So we definitely would recommend the tool, but there is a board, like we have the AARB board. So there is a whole set of people who are part of that board. They would give their opinion around various aspects around how the infra is set up, what sort of risks are existing,
Excellent.
what sort of detail, you may say, later on support we can have, third party risk assessment. So all those kind of things are being taken care of. Then we come to the conclusion. So it is not just one
That
man's
means
job.
there is a lot of brainstorming that goes in different scenarios. How this tool can be used in different scenario. What if this tool only supports one team? What happens to the other team? Do we need to bring new other tools? Correct. So there's a lot of brainstorming that goes. Now, who does this? Experts or so-called experts in your organization?
Yes, all
Now,
the
how
SMEs.
do you become that so-called expert? Is when you understand end to end. When you understand end to end of an organization requirement, and when you understand each and every team's requirements, but one person cannot handle that. That's why you are creating a team who mutually exchanges their idea, their requirements, other people understands it, and then they justify it. Correct? Now that's your engineering team who is capable of understanding end to end. Now, if you want to sit in that engineering team position, then you need to understand all of this. No, Nishant, I'm an engineer who want to architect all this. I will do someone decides it. I will go ahead and use it. Then that will not work out in long term. Correct? You all of you want to become a security engineers, no? Architects, no? At a point of time. So now, so these are the criteria that you will use to do. One is it paid or is it licensed? Now, is it having the capability to ignore the issues? For example, a vulnerability has come in January, vulnerability 1. Same vulnerability came in January. Same vulnerability came in March. In April, you have realized that, oh, why this security is coming? And then you realize that it was a misconfiguration. And your team has said that, oh, this misconfiguration, we cannot do anything. Let's accept it. Let us accept the risk. And in April, you have accepted the risk. In May, again, you got the vulnerability. In June, again, you got the same vulnerability. That means, will you put emphasis on, see, January, February, March, you put the emphasis. In April, you have accepted it. But in May, June also it is repeating because the system is not changed. No. Will you put emphasis on this vulnerability in the next upcoming days? You will not emphasize. The risk is accepted. No. You all know risk management. Once the risk is accepted, you will still record the risk, but you will not take an action on top of it. Correct? Now, can I ask my tool not even to raise this? Why should I raise it? Why should I raise it and then worry about it? When it is accepted, I will add an exception. I will add an exception in my tool that, hey, whenever you are generating and if you see this kind of vulnerability, don't raise it in the report. Is that capability that the tool have? If you have accepted some risks in your organization and you don't want your tool to generate the accepted risks and clutter the report, is that capability there in your tool? Can it identify vulnerabilities like high, medium, low, and segregate it? Now, in case if the scanning fails, is it possible to override the scan? And can I also handle if the scanning fails? Will it also give me a report till whatever has scanning happened? So these are the criteria that you need to put in front of a tool. These are the criteria that you need to put in front of a tool and say, hey, this tool is good tool, this tool is a bad tool. Now, at this moment, if you look at safety, if you look at safety tool, This tool is free. It addresses only Python programming languages. Does it have a capability to ignore issues? Yes. Can it show the bugs in high, medium, low level format? No, it doesn't have this capability. Can it fail on some issues? Yes. Can it show results in a file? Yes. So based on this criteria, our engineering team has decided that we are going to use this tool in our organization because this criteria is meeting our requirements. Then let's take another tool like retire.js. Oh, it only addresses JavaScript. Is it free? Yes. Does it have a capability to ignore issues? Yes. Does it have a capability to show severity? Yes. It can fail when an issue is detected. Yes. Can it actually result to the details in a file? Yes. So that means it is meeting all my criteria. So I will go ahead and integrate it. Like this, you need to ask which tool will work for you and which tool doesn't work. Yeah. So again, before I go into any other further, I want you to observe this slide for a couple of minutes. I want you to read this slide end to end for a couple of minutes. Then we will have a discussion, clarifications, and then we will continue with the other part of the course.
Oh, Nishant, I have one doubt.
Mm.
So this regarding the OST tools, the screen that you had shared earlier, a couple of screens earlier. So we have different tools for different languages, right?
Correct.
So now let's say in DevOps, we have a combination of different languages, like we use Python and Java or PHP. So how do you how does we ensure that these tools would be run against those languages?
First thing, each tool can only run for that programming language.
Yeah.
If you give Python code also, it will not do anything because Python code ends with .py files. JavaScript code ends with .js files. So JavaScript will only scan JS files. It doesn't touch Python files.
Yeah, so my DevOps, whatever pipeline that I have, I should ensure that these tools are also, I mean, whatever configuration that I do, we should have multiple tools ready.
Absolutely. In one pipeline, you will have 6 or 7 different tools. One tool will do Java scanning, the other tool will do Python scanning, the other tool will do PHP scanning, the other tool will do JavaScript scanning.
Okay.
But it only touches JavaScript files.
JavaScript, yeah.
Because a JavaScript tool cannot go to Python and ask, hey, you are not following my structure, because it doesn't even understand the structure. Correct.
Yeah, got it. So my doubt was we can have multiple tools
Absolutely.
in a pipeline.
Yeah, we should actually have.
Okay.
In one pipeline, you should have minimum 7 or 8 tools which are doing different scannings for different programming languages.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Nishan, what is your opinion around the tools like Contrast? They claim to do end-to-end for you, everything.
See, I'll tell you, many tools are claiming like that, but how efficient is that? After using only you can tell, because I never used Contrast. So I could not vouch for that. Checkmarks, yes, I can vouch because I worked on it. Sonar Cube, yes, I can vouch. This is good, this is bad.
Checkmarks has got limitations. Yes.
But Intel is using it.
We use checkmarks, but we know the deficiency.
You're not happy?
I'm not happy.
And then you have to change it.
Yeah, lots of
Try Coverty. Coverty was there for many years now. So where are you facing? Let's understand. It's a very good thing. You bought up. There are many people who want to become architects, security architects. Now, what do you think is not working? Why are you not happy? Why don't you tell some reasons so that everyone understands?
See, typical problem what we observed with checkmarks was that even if, let's say, you have identified some issue, right? In the next scan, it will not really skip those issues. It will in fact reflect onto those issues as well, which you already previously identified. So it creates lots of kind of, you know,
Chaos.
say overheads in terms of the
Absolutely. See,
information.
whatever I was talking now, you are also talking because it is the same real world issue. You saw in the last scan and you want to ignore it. You don't have a capability to ignore it.
Correct.
When
And
you when you
libraries
don't have a
also.
capability. Yeah, sorry, continue, sir.
Sorry, Nishan. Yeah, please go ahead.
Library is also not there.
Yes, it was struggling with that also. We had to apply then Snake for that. So.
Okay. So library component, that means component scanning is not there.
Right.
So it can scan the code. Code review it can do, but it cannot do component scanning. That means for component scanning, I need to put another tool.
Right.
Obviously, I cannot go for open source because the moment open source people, the moment you encourage open source, no. Ultimately, you will face the problem because something doesn't work out. People will come and say, oh, you introduced the tool, you introduced the tool. You don't want to take the risk. You will say, okay, Baba, pay the license. I don't care. No, that is the reality, no, Devinder?
Correct.
People think differently. The reality is you don't want to take the responsibility of an open source tool. You want to do something good for the organization, but you don't want to take responsibility. But in the board, you say that no, I will go with this tool and let everyone approve. Later something doesn't work out. People will come and blast you. Say that, hey, Devinder, you only suggested, yeah, this tool. It is not working out. Our team that facing issue, this issue, they don't want to learn. Without learning the technology, they will say that, this is not working.
You cannot fall back to someone also to resolve these things.
So then what you will say? No, yeah, we will purchase something which is corporate. And then you will blame on that salesperson. That salesperson said everything to us. So we purchased it. Now it is not working. Then you raise the case against them. When I say case, support case. Say how to work on this, how to work on that. Then you will realize, oh, there is a limitation in this tool. That's it. Kalas. Everyone is happy then. So see what to do, some corporate politics. Huh? Again, not politics, but this is the reality that happens in an organization. But no one want to talk about it in front of senior management. Here we can talk. Huh? Yeah, because we don't know which team you are working on. You don't know which company I work with. So it's okay to talk the realities. Now, see, you're talking, Devinder, correct. Now, what Nessus has done. How many of you have experience with Nessus? For how many years you are using? Niranjan?
2 years.
Excellent. Anyone from more than 5+ years? Okay. I was using Nessus for 12 years now. Okay. Nessus, when it was introduced, it was an open source program. Okay. Initially days, even till 2014-15, it doesn't have a capability to ignore issues. Till 14-15, it does not have a capability to ignore issues. Now, I was testing last week. Again, it was now it was introduced long back. What I have done, what is capable of is, for example, you have done scan number 1 in January. Now, every vulnerability that is shown, every scan that is conducted against it, Nessus will call it as plugin, and every plugin will has a plugin ID P1, P2, P3, P4, and each plugin will scan one vulnerability. You can say for each vulnerability there is a plugin. Now Nessus has a capability to ignore plugins in the next scan. You say, hey, vulnerability number 15, I want to ignore. So what is the responsible plugin for that? P15. So plugin number 15 is responsible for vulnerability 15. So I will disable plugin number 15 in the next scan. So in the next scan, this plugin is ignored. If this plugin itself is ignored, the scan will not happen. If the scan doesn't happen, you will not get the vulnerability. Like this, you can go ahead and see how good your organization is maturing. And over the days, you know that on January month, you have not ignored any plugin. In February, you have ignored 2 plugins. In May, you have ignored 6 plugins. In December, you have ignored 4 plugins. So at the end of the day, 6 + 4, 12. So totally 12 plugins you have ignored. In 2020, you have ignored 6 plugins, 12 plugins. In 2021, you have ignored 14 plugins. In 2022, you have ignored 16 plugins. That means the ignorance level is increasing. That means you are doing a bad job. Actually, it should decrease, no? If you have fixed the issues, you will never add exceptions. Because you did not fix the issues, you added the exceptions. That will also tell you how mature your organization is. Now, these are called as KPIs and KRIs that a vulnerability assessment team, security team should capture to show their performance. How will you judge whether your security team is performing well or not? These are the things. These are the parameters that are considered to tell my security team is doing well, not doing well, how is the vulnerability assessment going on, how many, you have to give them a provision to ignore. Let them ignore and then see the statistics. Then you will realize, oh, my team is bullshitting with me by just increasing ignorance, and they're satisfying the business requirements by adding more ignorant plugins. Then as a security architect, as a CISO, you can take a decision to say, OK, boss, from now we will not ignore anything. Let the vulnerability come and you face and you fix the issue. This is the CISO's job. Any questions? Okay, anyway, I'll clear this junk so you get a clarity on this. I'll be on mute, just go through this and then you will talk.
Nishan,
Yeah.
can you recommend some resource which can be handy for a CISO to really get hang of various KPIs? He can look into various areas.
Yeah, actually, this is one discussion that I'm having with many people. That do we have a proper KPIs and KRIs that a CISO can actually bring it to the board to show that he is performing or his team is performing well? Actually, we don't have a resource for when I had one training for SOC. We were actually building a SOC training, and there we had multiple CISOs, and we were discussing the same thing that okay, boss, at SOC level itself, do we have a KPIs? See, SOC is a big team, no? You will always hire a lot of people, and then you will have a lot of expensive tools are there in SOC. You purchase, and then how do you get the fruits out of that costly, expensive SOC? is a challenge. So then we came up with that. Like that, we have to do risk management KPIs. See, actually, every area has a KPI. Rather than a CISO KPI, it is the area KPI. Like for example, vulnerability assessment KPIs are different. Penetration testing KPIs are different. Hardening is different. Then compliance, risk management KPIs are different. Now all these KPIs has to come together. I think that all KPIs will become the CISO KPIs. Rather than looking at a CISO KPI, I want you to look at a vulnerability assessment KPI. Like each area, I want you to create separate KPIs and then a dashboard. That adds value because CISO has so many properties, right? Like he has to do so many things. Firewall team is under him only. Security analytics team is under him only. Vulnerability assessment team is under him. VAPT hardening team is also under him only. Then DevSecOps team is under him only. SAS dash team is under him only. Like when there are so many teams, each team may have a different KPI. So what the best way to create a KPI is to understand the nitty-gritties. Like, okay, boss, now we are doing vulnerability assessment. Now, quarter one, how many vulnerabilities? Quarter two, how many vulnerabilities? Quarter three, how many vulnerabilities? Is one way to look at it. And how many vulnerabilities? High, medium, low. Creating a trend graph for high, medium, low vulnerabilities at a month level, month on month level, or quarter on quarter level. How many identified vulnerabilities? How many new vulnerabilities in the next scan? And month on month scanning. How month on month, how many new vulnerabilities are coming? This will actually tell to your CISO that, okay, boss, month on month, the vulnerability size is increasing. Maybe we need to bring a different tool. Maybe I need to increase the hardening levels. So that kind of analysis should come. I was thinking actually when now I have the knowledge, I can only create the entire dashboard end to end in an Excel, taking all the KPIs and all, but it's only the time that is there. Maybe I have to sit someday and create all the KPIs and conduct a workshop. Kind of thing. I have it in my brain. It's not that I don't know. It's a matter of I need to put that into little nice graphs and all so that you can do calculations and see good dashboard.
Right, then we'll request one session from you separately on this someday.
Maybe I should do that. Where only KRIs and KPIs for your CISOs. Actually, this is the most requested one when I do other trainings. No, this kind of thing is requested multiple times. Because ultimately there are many. This is the reality is many CISOs don't even know how to judge their performance of their own information security team.
And then it's
because
embarrassing in front of board.
Yeah, but that is the reality. No, Devendra. I know big banks CISOs, they are struggling to project in front of their board on how they're performing. That's why you see metrics. Wherever you see metrics is calculated, metrics is listened.
Nishant, when we present it, the management doesn't want to take the cost.
It will come, no? With that position, the power comes and the cost of, the hit comes because the position is that.
Yes, Nishant, but when we do what is that lot of review on how the performance is and what is the improvement from the CISO team and from the information security point of view, it comes along with the cost when we
Absolutely.
go and present it. Yeah, so they only take the first part and say that next part we will review later. So that is challenging, but most of the small and medium companies are with that. Maybe like big banks or big company product-based companies would afford that. So that's the reality which I wanted to highlight it.
True. Absolutely. I'll tell you one experience. I have implemented 27,000 for a company who has 12 people in it. There are 12 people in the company. It's a product-based company, which is startup. We have implemented 27,001. And one of the control tells that you need to secure your lockers and cabinets. Now, in the HR room, there is a cabinet. It's a small room. It has a cabinet which doesn't have a lock. Poor infrastructure. Now, the control tells we need to secure. Now, what do you mean by secure? I can put a Godrej lock with numbers, fingerprint and all, or I can put a cycle lock. You know, cycle, no? For example, you put the cycle to a pole and then you lock it.
Yeah.
You know what we have done? That we have done. We don't have a lock, but it has a hooks. So what did we do? We bought a cycle lock and wrap around it and then lock it. Security is done. Now, how effective is that? That no one can tell. Correct. See, you asked me, secure it. This is my way of securing it. No standard in the world.
This is good example of compliance versus actual security.
Compliance tells do it. I did it. Now, how effective is that? No one knows. And you can also, auditor cannot judge the effectiveness of it. You know why? Because auditor is not the right person. Who is the right person? Business is the right person to judge. And in the risk assessment, it is very clearly said that in case of a breakage and all, we are accepting the risk. Colors. No auditor can talk anything. And we got 27,001 certified. That is the consultant's job. That is a real consultant. We have done that. Oh, I have done it for PwC also like this. PwC, SDC, Bangalore, me and one of my colleague, we both implemented there for 2 years. PwC, SDC, Bangalore in this park, Bannerghatta Park. No, what is that? Where the Dell is there. No, Dell, PwC will be there together. I don't, yeah, it's been 5 years now.
Egypt.
Nah, Domlur. Oh yeah, I
AGM.
forgot even that, all the things.
Embassy conference.
I mean that Dell office you cross and then you will have a very big campus where you have Microsoft, PwC, McAfee, and all will be in that only. Fidelity Investments. I think I used to go almost these companies to do consulting. Yeah. So that is how it happens. Now, same person who implemented in 12 people company and the same person who implemented in PwC knows the difference, na? How big companies treat and how small companies treat. But both are certified for 27,001. It's all about how do you ensure that control is satisfied. But in ideal case, is that a good control? You tell me, like from your opinion, is it a good control?
It's not a good control.
It has to have supplementary controls as well.
But I don't have budget. La. My budget is very tight.
Sure, but there is a difference between ISO and CMM, right? ISO is we say we are doing these things and those things should be there. Whether it is good or bad, it doesn't matter, right?
The CMM is also like that only.
But
no one knows.
means we have to stick to some performance standards.
No, there is a threshold. If you meet that threshold, you are achieved. Otherwise, there are companies who are 50 employee companies where there is no ITSM process, but they got CMM 5 level grade. I worked for a CMM 5 level company. It has only 100 people. I worked for it. We don't even have an IT service management, but we are CMM 5 level company. That jugaad will happen at that time, sir. Sorry to tell, but that jugaad will happen at that time. There are many ways that you can achieve that CMM 5 level criteria with meeting certain thresholds in certain areas. Many people outside ISO because thinks that, oh, ISO means everything is followed. But the reality, you know, right now, same thing will happen with CMMI also. From outside, it looks very jazzy, but when you implement it and see the controls and then audit, you will know, oh, we can actually fine tune things and get it done. That's actually reality in the compliance implementation. For example, sorry to tell this, Cisco got hacked. Last 2 weeks, you have seen news. But Cisco is a CMMI 5 level company. They have the best of the best security. They have the best of the best processes, no? I am not pointing Cisco, but yeah, the real that happened, no? You're getting me, right?
Yeah.
So that's how we need to look at things. So that's why when we get into the compliance mode, no, things all will be different. Now, let's say, now Nishan, there are so many tools that we need to implement. Now, in which tool will you implement all these? We need to do we need one tool which can do end-to-end automation. That tool can be your GitHub. If you are using CI/CD, continuous integration, you can use GitHub. You can use GitLab. You can use Bitbucket. Any of these tools you can use. All of them are DevOps platforms. Bitbucket, Azure DevOps, Bamboo CI, Jenkins X, Jenkins, Travis, Circle CI. You choose any tool, doesn't matter. Based on how cost effective it is for you, you can use it. Yeah. Now, to make everyone's life easy, rather than taking Azure, I will take GitHub. Okay, to show these demonstrations. Clear? Why am I choosing this? Even this is also a Microsoft product. The reason I'm choosing this is if you learn this tomorrow on your personal projects also you can use. There is no charge, free. Azure also is free, but it comes with certain limitations. There's a little bit of learning required. Anywhere the learning is required, doesn't matter. I'll show you this, see how it works, and then I'll also show you other ones. Which one shall we go, Azure or GitHub?
GitHub only, Nishant.
How about other people, folks?
Yeah, GitHub.
Yeah, because this is everyone can use it, no? And everyone is using it actually. Anyone here from Intel? Last week I delivered a training in Intel. GitHub Enterprise CI/CD. And Intel has moved from GitLab. Entire Intel across the world moved from GitLab to GitHub. This was the tool they are using, and they need a migration training. Entire GitLab is moved to GitHub. Such a big company has taken a decision to migrate. That means there's something in it which Intel has saw. And Intel is a very big company. They cannot take. I'm assuming that they don't take foolish decisions. That's assumption, but yeah, decisions may happen like that. Yeah, so let's go ahead and do it. But before you even understand this, you should know how to build an application. If you don't understand how to build an application on your own, yeah, will it work? No. You need to know how to build your own application first. If you know how to build an application, then you will know how to do things. For this demonstration, and for all of you to practice this, after the break, we will do it. We'll take a lunch break and then we will do this stuff. So I would expect everyone to have a GitHub account, personal GitHub account on their Gmail. OK, if you don't have one account, keep the account ready. You can click on sign up and keep your account ready. And once you keep the account ready, log in and then you're good to go. Then I'll show you the step-by-step demonstrations. You don't need to take any stress. I will do everything for you and then I'll show you. No? Any questions here?
Nishant, I have one
Yes,
question before we get into the practical part. Right? So there is something mentioned about security models. Bella Padula model, some Biba. I mean, I'm not really clear about where we would use it, or does it really fall under security engineering itself, or where is it applicable for us in this module?
Here we don't use them. Actually, these models are all theory. They may not work out in real world. They are all from a theory point of view, like BIBA, discretionary access controls, mandatory access controls. From a theory point of view, they look differently. From an implementation point of view, they look differently. For example, what is this mandatory access control we know? Let's take that simple one. Let's say mandatory access control.
So not everyone can access everything, right? That's one. Is that what access control is basically?
Correct. And then RBAC.
Role based. Okay.
Correct. Now, like this, there are multiple types. For each of them, different, no? Now, I'll give you one good resource that I like. And I think it's something which I can vouch. I'm sharing the URL with you guys. Now, see, theoretically, we learn that, but practically also we should know. So let's see this. When we say different type of authorization models like ACK, DAC, MAC, RBAC, ABAC. So let's say access control list. There is a subject, that is me or you, can take an action on an object. For example, Nishant can delete files. Nishant can upgrade server. Nishant can do patching. He can do. He is allowed. He is not allowed is the action. Object. He can patch, not patch. He can delete a file, create a file. File is an object. Subject Nishant. Like this, if you say, for example, in an access control matrix, for example, we are granting Dino. Dino is the subject. Granting Dino article created permission. That means he can go ahead and create an article. So what is the subject in this? Dino. Action is to create. An object is an article. Is a simple control. Now, when I come to discretionary access control, okay, the regular ICL, then in a discretionary access control, you will say subject can do an action to an object and subject can also grant another subject. That means Dino can create an article. Dino can create an article and also he can give permissions to others. Like Dino can also grant permissions to James. Is discretionary access control. But whenever you talk about this in real world, do you name discretionary access control? OK, don't worry about discretionary access control. In your real world, what is this example called as? ACL only, right? Roles. You call it as roles. In real world, you call them as role, no? For example, manager role means he can approve the other people leaves. That's what you know. But you call it as a role. You will never call it as discretionary access control. The theoretical term is discretionary access control, but the real world, you will never call it as discretionary access control. You will still call it as ACL only in real world. Are you connecting with me? Are you able to sync with me? Theoretically, there is a name, but practically you don't use that names. You only consume the concept. It is the same concept with these security engineering models. The concept is what we use.
Okay, so this example is for the access control part, but the security engineering models concepts are
it is applies the same.
Security engineering separately.
Yes, but the only thing is you will not use the model name. You will only use the resultant out of it. like a process.
So, I mean, just for the clarity, can we see where we are using what with this application of each model? Are we doing it, or are we just using one model all the time, or how is it?
No, that I don't think so. We'll be able to show that as a demonstration. I need to see. Because I have never projected that kind of demonstrations before. I need to think on it. Like, how do I project? See, because understanding is one thing. Converting that into a demo is another thing, which I have not done yet. Maybe I will see if I can, work on it, or if I come across something, I'll see, because I need to show you in the form of a demo, right? That is also important. See,
Yeah,
now I have spoken a theory. Now I have to convert that into a demo. For that demo, I need to see which tool makes sense to show which model. Whether I need to take an application, whether I need to take a DevOps pipeline, whether I need to take a server to show you this demo. That I need to think.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool then. What I will do, I'll just go ahead and take a break. After the lunch break, we come and we do the practicals. Sit and relax. I'll do everything. You just copy paste. It will work. Huh? Okay. Take care then. Bye bye. Not bye bye. See you. Sorry.